Hey everyone, welcome to week 6 of the Mid-Geek Crisis. I'm Joe.
Pedro.
Hey, so we're going to jump right in, and this episode's going to be a little different. The news has been kind of slow this past week, and we're coming up right up to the holidays.
Yeah.
This is going to come out tomorrow, aka Wednesday for you guys, the midweek. And Thanksgiving is around the corner, aka Black Friday, aka the day that us geeks go and buy tons of presents for ourselves.
Cyber Monday, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So it's Christmas shopping, right? We buy it for everyone else, but in reality, we're all just getting the best gifts for deals for ourselves. That's the day that we get our brand new TV, our brand new consoles, and all the major AAA titles for 50% off.
That's the hope.
That's the hope. So I'm going to start this story off with the biggest AAA title that I have ever seen have the most trouble, and that is Fallout 76. Well,
of this year. Of this year. Of the last 2 weeks.
Right. So here's Bethesda, the company that everyone loves. That they can do no wrong, and I say that in a very quotey way because they have had a couple of ins and outs. But here's the company that
it's almost like a joke now, right? I mean,
right.
Even their glitches people find hilarious because it's Bethesda. They're still
Bethesda. I mean, they deliver good content. No, I mean there's nothing wrong with what they deliver. But here's a company that has milked. I mean, they have squeezed blood out of a stone with Skyrim. I mean, that runs on everything from an Alexa to the Switch to PC to 360 to whatever. You name the console, it runs on it.
It runs on it, yep.
And Skyrim is a 7+ year old game now, and we just got a new copy of it on the Switch this year, and it's still sold good for them. And it was fun. I have it portably. So here's a company that announced their follow-up to is it considered a follow-up? I guess not. It's kind of a sidestep for Fallout 4.
It's like a prequel
sequel / not anything completely new, just more of an MMO. I don't.
It's a multiplayer expansion. So
right.
Folks always ask for these types of games is we want to play with our friends. We want multiplayer.
Well, here it is.
Yeah, and Bethesda said, okay, well, here you go. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to put any of the things you love about our games in it, right? So
right. So here's the gist of it. It's Fallout with none of the major things that made Fallout. For example, like the shooting engine, right? Like the pick your spot. What is that called?
Oh God,
the VAT system, right?
Yes, the VAT system. That's it.
The VAT system can't work.
Was like a slow time bullet motion thing.
Right. So you take the shot, and all of a sudden you get a menu, and it would tell you where the weak points are, where what part was more damaged, and you could really pick a shot.
Depending on your skill levels, you can make it more accurate. Blah, blah,
right. But you can't do that in a game where it's multiplayer and you can't slow down everyone else's game because you're slowing down time for yours. So they've now made it to where you kind of pick a shot in that location, and that kind of gives you headshots and leg shots, and all that actually matter now.
It winds up being a first-person shooter.
Like every other first-person shooter. But here's this game that finally came out. When it was announced at E3, it was kind of everyone was like, "This is cool,
interesting,"
but at the same time, it's not another Fallout game. It's Fallout with multiplayer with an ever-changing world. How is this going to work?
A nukeable world,
right? So, I mean, that's the most popular thing in Fallout is the fact that you could just carry around little baby nukes in your pocket.
You launch them. I don't think you. Well,
Fallout, I mean,
Fallout 4, yeah. Fallout 4, you had
what is it called?
A nuke launcher.
Yep. The nuke launcher. Anywho, so now we've got this game that everyone wanted to play, but at the same time, everyone was skeptical about. And I feel like Bethesda really pushed that timeline. Like they wanted it out by fall.
Yep.
And they put a beta out, and
they nailed it.
The beta was, I want to say, not terrible, but just didn't go well for them. From the beta deleting itself, I heard it like if you had a PC and you did something, you could just it would just delete the 30 gig download.
Reinstall itself.
You have to reinstall itself. Yeah, it was a mess. So after that big bug, they were like, "Oh no, we're fine," and they released it on time. So now here we are, a week and a half in, and we've got players finding ways to reset the entire server. So
did they reset it or they crashed it? I thought they crashed it.
They crashed it. They crashed the entire server. So here's a if you're not familiar with the Fallout world, there are nukes hidden in the world, and when you're playing single player, it's exploration. It's you by yourself, kind of going through, finding a way to get them, and when you got them, you're like, "Ooh, I've got this powerful nuke in my hand." Now we've got a bunch of what's the term that I could say lightly? A bunch of dedicated players that want to immediately troll the world. And what did they do is day one, even though with all the news that was announced for this was going to be a world that is going to be very hard to find nukes. They said that it would be puzzles and you'd have to find codes and it would take a long time to find these bunkers.
You have to figure out a cipher.
All that stuff. Well, you've left these people with the devices of the internet, and these very smart individuals cracked it day one.
Yep.
Day one, someone had a nuke already and launched it. Day one. So right then and there, that was Bethesda going,
c'est la vie.
So, of course, players found a way to coordinate nuke attacks. So they coordinated 3 nukes onto a specific location, which I guess Bethesda thought couldn't happen, or they shouldn't have allowed it to happen, but it did, and it can bring down a whole server.
The interesting thing, right, these players, I should look up their names, but one of them starts, I think it's like a Nico or a Nick. They wanted to, because when you nuke an area, it raises the level of the area and the loot drops. So nuking it has an in-game function, right? So it's sort of an in-game thing. You create a massive area of irradiated land where the monsters are stronger and thus they drop better loot, and it's the only way they get the best stuff. So they wanted to find out what happens when you nuke a base 3 times at the same time, right? Because the idea is, it'll force multiply it maybe, right? So that level 100 becomes a level 200, becomes a level 500, crashes the server is what they found out happens. Which, that's it's I don't know. MMOs players find ways to crash the system, right? So we've all done it, or we've all been experienced it when it crashes. My big disappointment is that day one nuke, right? It was supposed to be like a real hard game that you sort of had to progress and figure things out. And I mean, a lot of it I think is because they allowed access during beta and they didn't change the way nukes worked after the beta, right? So folks learned how to do these things in beta, and then they just did it in day one, right? They knew the fastest way to level. They knew where the nuke codes were. They knew what monsters to farm, and they did it in day one, right? That was their goal. I think it was actually the same group that launched the first nuke.
Probably.
Crashed the server. So like, there's that, right? But it doesn't make me want to play the game when I know that there's giants, there's titans of the game who know the ins and outs, where if they want, they can find a nuke within 2 hours.
Right.
And I'm buying the game, and I can't find adhesive to strap some duct tape around my first gun, right? That's like that feels like a real big power disparity right away in the first week of launch, right? So and I think back to other MMOs, right? You played EverQuest, it took forever to get to the end game. When you played World of Warcraft, it took months of dedicated time, or weeks at least of dedicated time to get to the end game. And now it seems like day one folks are coming out and they're already it might actually be a thing I'm going to say, they're already launching nukes.
So, yeah. I love it.
I've got a ghost in my room right now.
Ghosts. All ghosts. That's okay. It's okay. It's real life, people.
That's the spouse coming in to wave hello.
So, it's embarrassing and at the same time troubling, right? So here's this game where I thought maybe that's not endgame, right? Like
it's got to be. What else do they have?
Like that's endgame, right? Like if Fallout nukes bring on endgame, and so
they must have also so there's PvP as well. So most of these PvP games, endgame is always player versus player, right? Dark Zone and Division, Destiny 2 is this sort of Crucible. You wind up fighting each other, so that makes sense too. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me as a Bethesda fan. I want to crawl through caves on stealth mode and shoot people when they're not looking at me with that. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. So we'll take a shift there of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We now have a patch that just launched today. And the embarrassing part about this patch is it is 45 gigabytes.
On the PlayStation.
On the PlayStation. I don't know how big it is on Xbox One.
It was 15 gigs. 15 gigs on the Xbox, which is still enormous. That's still
15 gigabytes on. I mean,
like
not everyone has. Yeah, not everyone has the speed to download 15 gigs instantly. And then I think it was like 19 on PC. It was like 15 or 19, give or take.
It's brutal.
But 45 gigabytes on the PlayStation. That means that it's bigger than the entire game after install. So you are literally replacing the entire game with this patch. That is not ready. That's not ready to launch. Like that's a version of the game that should not have launched. You're literally making your fans buy a game at the store. Yep. They pop it in. It goes, yep, this is the game. Then it throws everything out and then re-downloads the entire game. I mean, day one patch will replace everything that you have installed.
All right, now, if I bought it in stores, I would have to reinstall that patch, right? That's kind of a frustrating moment where...
Well, so what's interesting about that is on the PlayStation, if you've never used one, you pop the disc in, and it has to install the game. So it takes the disc and basically rips the disc and installs it onto the PlayStation 4.
It doesn't pull it from the internet, so it grabs the most recent? It actually
installs it, then runs it. Then when it runs it, it'll then say, hey, there's a patch. So there's going to be a wait on that install. So you're looking at a 10, 15-minute wait once you pop in the disc. And then after that, immediately it'll tell you there's a new patch. And then it'll then download
a whole patch. And you're going to be like, is it installing the whole thing all over again?
Right.
Yeah.
That's...
Folks will be launching nukes before you finish installing the game.
Look, I've told you how I felt about Fallout 4 before. I've had issues with the game. I thought it was. I really wanted to like it. I felt it was clunky. It was a game engine that they forced to keep the way that they did because of Fallout 3, but then like barely evolve it when we've got technically better ways of doing this. I think I've ranted about the town building. I thought the town building was very inaccurate. It was very
super clunky. Yep.
Super clunky. It really doesn't tell you how anything works. A good example that I would always tell him is a light switch and the light generation, like the powers out, like how that works. Like you need
to actually take a course in electronics to make it work. I totally
right. It's just not. It's not user friendly for someone that hasn't played the game before. So with that in mind, this game telling me that this is what they built on. They built on Fallout 4 and then built an MMO of sorts, a live version of the game. Just told me that this game was not going to be good, but I really wanted to say, I want it to be wrong. I wanted to say, oh my God, this game's gonna be fantastic. Maybe in 3 months it'll be fantastic. It'll be the game to pick up.
So here's, I mean, we tend to have a prediction every episode, right? We have to go back and see what predictions we put together. But I think here's my prediction. I think like in a year, if Bethesda stays dedicated, right, and they've claimed they're gonna support it forever, I think in a year or two it'll all come together, right? So the players and the vision of the studio will come together and they'll produce something. And my hope, this is the optimist in me, it's just the season, is that they pull something together like EVE Online. They pull together a small, tight-knit community of hardcore gamers who mold the game in the direction they want to go and then create the content they want to create, right? So sometimes, I don't play EVE Online. I know my limits and I know what games I should not get involved in. But I do sometimes read like actual play stories of EVE Online and how the community comes together and have these huge player wars and they go nuts. And I hope, I think like some folks look at that community and are jealous of it. And I think that's what Bethesda wants for their Fallout 76. Where you build your own buildings, you can create your own trade caravans, you can create your own game. I mean, there's a guy on there who's pretending to be Preston from the Fallout 4 game, right? And he keeps saying a settlement needs your help to other players as they walk by. And that's the kind of like found play you want to read about and what you enjoy. I just, like you say, I mean, they pushed it out as quickly as they could. You got to get it before the Christmas season or else it's going to die in February, right?
Right.
So they did that, and they're going to be launching 50 gigabyte patches for the next couple of years.
So here's... So I want to expand on this discussion because, like I said, this episode is going to be a little free range.
Sure.
And we've got a theme going with a lot of the episodes that we've talked about on how game development has kind of changed.
Yeah, shifted.
The shift. So here's a game that launched day one this broken, and it's pretty common nowadays, right? You know,
Yep. We all expect it now.
Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft, Sony, they all, most studios release a game that is broken enough that day one patch fixes it, which is hilarious because that means that they've been working on it for a month after it went gold master, so that the disc gets printed out.
Yep.
And then it gets released, and then by the time it gets released, they've already fixed like 90% of
they're hoping.
Yep. Yeah, they're hoping. So here's a game that was released, and I guess my question to you is, do you think games as a whole, once they release in the state that there are, that is now an expected method of development, as in they are no longer paying game testers out there? You know, before, and I've got a couple friends that used to work as game testers. They'd go in, they'd lock them into a room, and, you know, they'd say, you know,
pizza and Red Bull,
and 40 hours a week, you know, plus 80 hours a week on crunch time. And it's like, find it, break the game. We need to release these fixes.
Sure.
So that we go day one, we can fix it. Do you think they've kind of avoided that now and said, let's release this game in a half-ass state?
I don't know. I mean, like, everything I know about it says that they're still doing QA states, right? These games are huge, right? They've layered on multiplayer architecture, right, which I imagine creates all new issues. They're concurrently making games for multiple systems, right? So you've got to get your PlayStation and your Xbox and your Nintendo Switch launches all at the same time. These long cycles, they're always creating new bugs. I think they're trying their best, right? No one wants to release a garbage game, except for EA. Right? So, like, I think most of them got. I don't want to disparage the QA teams out there, right? These folks work hard.
They work so hard.
I mean, probably they work.
I've got friends that are in the credits from doing.
Yeah. So these folks work really hard. So we don't want to disparage their work. I think what has happened is that these studios have baked in that extra time as well. So whereas before, you know, you had a Nintendo cartridge, there was no chance of you ever updating. So you had to have a complete functional product out the door. Now, I mean, folks have another, 4, 5, 8, 10 weeks to continue developing and improving and polishing and uncovering. So I think those are now baked into their timelines. Like, I think the age of buying a game, popping it in there, and being able to play it day one without a patch is gone. Because now I think studios are baking that time, and now they have. I mean, basically, they've got more time to work on it, which is a good thing. Except it used to be polished. Now they're adding features and creating more bugs, maybe. Right?
So here's the double-edged sword of that. While I think that's cool, because now we get games that evolve after we buy them. Like, we buy a game with a set of features. That's the best way I could put it. And then all of a sudden we get new features.
Yeah, it's great.
So we paid for it. But what does that do for people that paid the $60 day one, and then they can't play this game? They can't even enjoy it at the bare minimum that they were promised.
I don't know, man. I remember when I got my Xbox One. I mean, I got it Christmas Day, and I tried to play it because I'm an idiot. And of course, I think there was like a denial attack on the service.
Right.
It's like ridiculous. But like, I think all of us gamers got to sort of just bake in time now where you're like, yeah, I can't wait to play my new game, install it, and then you go play your other game on your phone or your other system, and then you come back the next day and you play. It's a sad thing, but
is that where we were supposed to go? Like, is this the right timeline?
No, we all know. We know this isn't the right timeline for various reasons. But we are all living in the worst timeline. That's it doesn't get much worse than this timeline, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, it does. There's probably, this one's a pretty bad timeline. This is, if there's like a split, right, good and bad, we're definitely on the bad side of the timelines. We're not on the good sides.
I could definitely believe that.
But they're still releasing great games. We're on the good side of the timeline from a board game perspective, from a role-playing game perspective, right? All these things are tabletop is booming and doing amazing. So we got that going for us, right? But the game development and games are great, right? They're amazing. They just launch buggy and then they get fixed. That's the life we live in now.
So and again.
Can you get your money back? Yeah, you can get your money back, right? Fallout 4, if you pop it, or Fallout 76, if you pop it in there and you play day one, But I mean, you take it back to GameStop, they're only going to give you a couple bucks. But like, you should be able to get a refund from like Best Buy or something like that if you, right?
I think so. I'm not
Probably
sure
at the discounted price. Like
the
Red Dead
discounted
Redemption has been
price.
already discounted. So
Yeah.
like that.
So that's the sad part, right? So we've got a game that launched a week ago. I guarantee you, we're going to be able to see some Black Friday deals this Friday for Fallout 76. At least
You think Fallout 76 this Friday? I don't think so. Probably Christmas. I doubt it would. We'd already know about it, right? I feel like everyone's announcing their Black Friday deals in
I
advance.
mean, the memes are fantastic. Have you seen some of these out there?
For Fallout 76?
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're like, you know, they just show people crying. They're like, this game sucks. You know, like it's so bad. It's
but
really
then
bad.
you see some folks who are, I mean, there are some folks who are enjoying it. So it's just there's everyone needs to recalibrate their expectations, right? Like I knew, and I think I read a Polygon review.
You sound like me.
Yeah, no, I know we've been bad influences on each other. I think I read a review on Polygon that it's essentially the person was like, this isn't the Fallout game I wanted, so I need to recalibrate to what Fallout game they've actually given me, right? Which is an MMO type game where you're not playing the Bethesda Fallout story, you're not living in the universe, you're playing a different game, and that's what it's got a Fallout skin over it, but it's a different experience. Which is also, I mean, it could also be good if they polish it and make it work.
Would any other company be allowed to do this?
So would they be allowed to do it? I mean, I don't.
Right.
I
so
don't,
Bethesda's.
I don't know that. I don't know that
pedigree.
Bethesda's. I don't think that Bethesda's being. I think you're right. You know what? Bethesda's given a lot of leeway. They're like the youngest brother who gets away with everything, right?
Right.
They're given a lot of leeway because they've delivered often in the past, and their games are so beloved, right? So I get it. You're not wrong, but I mean, we still see Skyrim memes. We still see, you know, like these games are these. They're a studio.
But Skyrim was a mammoth of a game. Like when it came out, I slept on it. I was like, Elder Scrolls, right? I was like, okay, it's coming out. And then like a week later, there were like arrows to the knee jokes, like everywhere, like in mainstream media.
It's like the only time you've ever missed the zeitgeist of Gamerdom, right?
And it was like, how did I miss this? Oh man, how did I miss this?
This is what Pedro feels like all the time.
I was living in Syracuse. I remember the day it came out, and everyone was talking about it, and all of a sudden, the arrow to the knee jokes like started like coming out.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, this is it."
I think I got it on special, and I wanted to finish up the one before whatever the one before was, Obsidian or Elder Scrolls Obsidian, whatever it was before. Yeah. I wanted to finish it, but I could not get in the mood, so I just jumped right to Skyrim, and then I was gone. I was playing that way too much. It was all depth, got all the DLC, riding dragons, build houses, adopted orphans. It was like I was 100% committed to that game. One of the few regrets I have is I never 100%ed it because I just couldn't do the grind because I had to play other games.
So that with the way Skyrim turned out, do you see hope for a game like Fallout 76?
Again, Skyrim was a solo experience where I was challenging myself to do other things, where I was like, today I'm going to hunt down this big dragon, right? And I will go out and do it. If Fallout 76 doesn't give those experiences in the story of the game, I mean, what I'm reading now is that this game isn't providing much of a story for players to connect to. And I think, I mean, it goes back to our D&D days, right? If you don't give the players a story to connect to, they're going to start trolling your game.
Right.
They're going to create their own stories, and they're going to create. So, of course, they're going to get together a team and nuke the same site 3 times, right?
And that's what they did.
Yeah. So I think Bethesda has a huge task in front of them where they have to provide a large community, a strong community of players, a compelling reason to play the way Bethesda wants them to play, which is the hardest way to do it, right? And you know, you DM, I DM, you want to encourage your players to do cool things, but not disrupt your game. And I think Bethesda has to figure that out. And all MMOs have to figure that out. I think Bethesda, without any experience except for Elder Scrolls, right? Was that even them, or did they give it to another studio to do it? But they need to figure out how to make it compelling. And I don't know how you can make it compelling without a story. without a background, without a reason to do anything but kill people, right?
Right.
That's what people
But this is interesting because they've done really well with the single player. They're fantastic single player.
Yeah.
You know, when Bethesda swallowed up id Games, however you want to call it, and they took over like an example, the Wolfenstein series.
And they killed those things. I mean,
but it was a fantastic single player experience.
Yeah.
They released part 2, and yet again, a fantastic single player experience. Doom, fantastic single player experience.
Yep.
Skyrim, fantastic single player. Fallout 4, single player.
No, I got it, dude.
Here we've got a track record of amazing single player. And then let's talk about the elephant in the room that everyone tends to forget is Elder Scrolls Online has been out for 4 years. And it's like desolate. Like people
Is it so
people talk about it. Like I remember at PAX,
people are playing it still.
They're playing it, but they're not. I felt like this was the world everyone wanted. And then when they got it, they were like, this isn't the Elder Scrolls that I want to play. I'm going to keep playing Skyrim for the 75th time.
What I'm hearing is that it's there, right? So on launch, it just didn't get people. They didn't deliver enough for the players. Now, 4 years later, it's where it needs to be, right? Of course, they delivered a Bethesda product. It was buggy, it wasn't there, and it was a multiplayer experience. 4 years later, because it's still there, what I'm finding out, talking to friends who still play and reading online, is that it's a good experience. Now, it tempted me almost enough that I wanted to download it, but not quite, right?
Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite. So that is my prediction. I mean, your prediction is fantastic, and I believe in it. I think that.
Yeah. I think they're going to find a small community. I hope.
So, and my rebuttal to your prediction is only that EVE Online is a PC only game.
Sure.
Where I will say that PC players have the patience for that kind of stuff. Like PC players don't play with controllers. They don't want that quick button action. They're all about like the meticulous of like RTSs. You know, right? They'll sit there all day and work on a mod because the mod makes them happy. Like it's a very different.
You've said it, and I don't want to quote you back at you. It's all.
Please.
It's coming together, dude. I think console players and PC players, as much as we pretend there's a divide, I think console players are demanding what PC players get, and PC players are. I mean, I hate to say it, have dripped down their sort of economy and the way their games work. I mean, MMOs started on PC, and now every game that launches is basically MMO.
An MMO.
Yeah,
right. Back to the Fortnite scenario. Yeah. Here's a game that constantly changes, and so that's what we have going to compete against. So
and there's some there's some AAA games that do well, like Assassin's Creed, right? Those, I mean, I think of that when I think of a console game nowadays. That's pure console. Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man 4, like those are console experiences. And the only reason why you put them on your PC is so that you could turn up the graphics real high and brag about it, right? But also, I think you're right. Maybe they'll find a community on the PC, but then you're competing against a lot of other things.
You're competing against the trolls that play on console that are just all about the lulls and the streams. And so they're going to turn on their stream to see what they can mess up in the game. And, I'm sure, like...
Yeah, and I think... But if you incentivize players to behave well towards each other, if you give them a reason to trade, you give them a way to give each other quests.
Right.
The PC gamers or the gamers in general, I don't even know if there's cross-platform play, but I think if you give them a reason to be awesome to each other and reward good play, then you'll create a community, right? And I think EVE Online does a decent job of that. And the penalties for bad behavior are large enough that folks don't want to do it. And I think that's where they sort of messed it up, I think, with their PvP style, is that they made PvP hard as opposed to make it something that penalizes you a lot more. So, again, I think they'll figure it out. It's just going to take them 2 or 3 years. If they stick with it, they'll have a small, tight-knit community, and the world of games is big enough.
So, quick prediction, then. Fallout 76 came out about a week ago.
Yep.
When do you see the first price drop? Like when do you think you'll see $49.99?
Okay, without even knowing the results of this patch, right? Because this patch could have broken everything. I don't know what's going on with the patch that just dropped. I'm gonna say January, right? That's usually when everything goes on sale right after. So I think they're gonna keep it at a high. Bethesda does a good job of keeping their products high for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and then it's Doom where they hand it out to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So I think after January you'll see the half price sales, or you'll see the like half price or the full price plus a season pass or whatever they're giving out, whatever they're planning to do with it. Whatever.
All right. Well, more power to Bethesda, and
yeah.
I hope it comes out well. I mean, again, I want to be excited for the game.
I bet they're gonna figure out how to make Fortnite-esque arenas for folks to fight in.
Oh God, we're gonna get Battle Royale Fallout. It'll happen.
You can already build bases. They just need to allow you to build it faster.
Isn't that, again, back to the argument? If they do that, I'll be day one. Day 6 months later, absolutely.
You gotta jetpack up on your power armor.
Yeah, right. I'll pay to win to up me to the 6 month range. Where it's like, 6 months play. Yeah, I'll pay for it.
I'll pay for that. Let's do it.
All right. So Fallout is. We'll see where we visit that in a couple months and see where that goes. Again, today's Wednesday. Tomorrow is the holiest of holidays, Thanksgiving. We murder a bird and eat it with gravy.
Here in the States, if we have any international listeners, right?
Yeah, no, by all means. That's fantastic. I'm going to let you guys know that this is the day that we murder a bird and cover it with gravy and eat it. And then we give thanks.
The majority of the country murders a bird, right?
Majority of the country.
I pardon my bird, actually.
You pardon it. You pardon it.
The bird. That's what we do up here in the blue states. We let the turkeys run free.
Not where I'm at. We take that turkey and we stuff another animal.
I know. How many animals can we fit in this turkey?
Animals can we fit in this turkey? But
First time I ever had turducken was actually in Texas. So,
of course.
San Antonio, Texas. I remember.
You can never forget. You can never.
What is this monstrosity, and why does it taste so good? So like, did you enjoy it? It contains many animals. I'm like,
it contains many animals.
All of God's creatures. All of God's creatures. That's why it's so good. That's why. Yes. So turducken, it's good. I mean, I won't dispute it. Hard to make, buy it made, but it's really good.
Well, with the Thanksgiving holidays and the other holy holiday of Black Friday, it is also a time where good family movies come out, or at least it's the second wave. I want to call it, how we get the summer blockbusters. Thanksgiving weekend, we get the big ones. We start getting the new ones, and we're getting a couple of good movies coming out these holidays. And
tiny ones, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow Wreck-It Ralph 2 comes out.
Yep.
I'm
excited for it. I love Wreck-It Ralph. I didn't get to see it in theater, but I loved it when I finally got to see it. It was great.
Yeah, it was one of those movies that I didn't have the expectation for, and then I walked in, and when I walked out of that movie theater, I was like, "Oh my God, this was good." This wasn't Pixar. It was.
I still don't know
Disney.
how they got all of those properties all in the same. I don't know. It's a very impressive feat. Or are they all owned by the same company? Maybe I don't know.
No. I mean, you had Sonic, you had Sega, you had Capcom with Zangief and Bison.
All the Atari games, Activision.
You had Activision. You had a bunch of other stuff. So a lot of good shopping of properties was done to get that happen. So I'm guessing with part 2, you're going to get even more, because they're going to be like, "Oh, we're not going to miss this ship. Like this is a video game movie."
Yeah, no, it was like here and now they're going to be like
right. So I'm excited for that. My kiddo his birthday's coming up soon, and I think we're going to
take him to the theater.
Yeah, take him to the theater and do a birthday Wreck-It Ralph screening for sure. Another thing that I guess dropped today was the final trailer for Deadpool, PG-13, which is Once Upon a Deadpool.
So I'm going to be 100% honest, and everyone can laugh at me. I was tricked. I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Wait, how are they releasing a new Deadpool movie so soon?" And then I was like, it all started to come together. I'm like, "Oh, okay, this makes much more sense."
So yeah. I'm going to put on my ranting gloves.
All right,
and I've called this since day one.
I feel like I should have like a helmet to put on.
Put it on. So I have called the PG-13 Deadpool since day one.
Mm-hmm.
When Deadpool 1 came out, or was on its way to come out, there was a big, if you remember, kerfluff online about parents demanding Fox to make it PG-13 and not rated R so that they can take their kids. And then there was a giant counter community that was like, you're an idiot, you know, be a better parent. Why would you let your kids watch anything about Deadpool?
They
Deadpool's
could miss a movie.
Character.
Like,
Right.
they could miss a movie.
Right. But the idea here is like, Deadpool's always been for adults. Marvel has never marketed towards kids.
Well,
right. So this was 3 years ago, right? And 3 years ago, or is it 3 years? 3 years ago with Deadpool 1.
Was it 3? I feel like it was longer.
Yeah, probably longer, maybe 4. 2015, maybe, give or take. And around that time, when this argument started, I was like, that's not true. Here's Deadpool in an episode of Spectacular Spider-Man on Disney Channel. Yeah. Here's Deadpool on Marvel Superheroes with figures being sold in the kids section.
Cute little figures
with the big heads sold in the kids section. So don't tell me that Deadpool isn't recognized by kids. Kids know who Deadpool is. Even
my daughter knows who Deadpool is, and I am strict with what media she consumes.
Right. So it has been a lot more laxed since the movie. Now that the first movie came out, and now the second one, you go into the kids section and you see Deadpool backpacks, Deadpool action figures. You see, I'm in Target and you've got Deadpool like Marvel Legend figures. Obviously, they're catered towards us.
It's now the forbidden fruit for the kids, right? Well, it's for us to buy for our kids to wear on their way to school, I guess.
But they're like, I don't know what this is, but yet Daddy showed me this movie when Mommy was asleep, kind of thing.
Daddy fell asleep while it was on, and I watched it.
And I watched it. So, I'm making this argument because Deadpool has always been for kids. It's silly meme style comedy for adults, but it's targeted to kids. And so from the very beginning, I said this would be a very smart move for Fox. Fox should always have made it PG-13. And with the character of Deadpool, we have always known that Deadpool breaks that fourth wall in the comic book.
Yeah, but the R-rated movies were so good.
I know. Again, I'm not saying that they weren't fantastic movies. The first one was so good. It was lightning in a bottle. It was lightning in a bottle.
The second one was 2 lightning bottles.
Right. Well, they just expanded that bottle somehow. Yeah. My point being is Deadpool, while it did fantastic at rated R because it broke all sorts of like records by saying, hey, we can make this amount of money with a rated R movie. They decided to go, hey, why don't we market this towards the PG-13 crowd so that we can bring them in? And this is the most brilliant piece of marketing I have ever seen. Honestly, this is an idea that I had from day one, and I'm not saying like I'm taking credit or anything, but I was like, if you did Deadpool, knowing he's rated R, knowing he's a rated R character, an entity that is supposed to be rated R, and put him in a PG-13 movie where he is like literally fighting against the movie, trying to like fight that rated R, like get out the F word, and like a bus comes by every time he says the word, or like he's like, what is going on? Like he knows he wants to cuss and he can't get it out.
Sure,
that is like perfect Deadpool, and so we got that. Fox listened somehow. They looked through my dream journal and said, let's do it. Let's re-release. And now this is called Deadpool Once Upon a Time. So I'm guessing this is Deadpool 2, but they're probably going to talk about a little Deadpool 1 just to kind of like say, hey, here's the PG-13 crowd. We got to catch them up. We can't just throw them into a sequel.
Do you think it's going to be like a crazy edit, where it's sort of like,
yeah, and so that's what's happening.
1 and 2 merged into the.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to.
I don't know that you have enough content if you put either one of them on the cutting floor to make it PG-13. Like, there's a lot of stuff I feel like they'd have to cut out to make.
Yeah. So, and again, what's genius about this move is the fact that they're going to make us, the people that paid money to go see it in rated R, pay again.
I mean,
you see. No.
I'm not going to.
No. Because they not only sold you. So if you haven't seen the premise of this movie, the premise is Deadpool in our universe, because he's literally outside of the movie verse at this point, kidnaps Fred Savage.
Sure.
Puts him in the scene of the Princess Bride in bed. I mean, he wakes up and he's like, where am I? And he's like, oh, what am I doing here? And he is in the Princess Bride scene, and Deadpool is going to read the story of Deadpool
To him,
to
yes.
him. So
go watch the trailer, everybody.
Fourth, fifth, and sixth wall being broken and shattered. Fantastic.
Sure.
And at the same time, they're going to give us new scenes. Like they told us day one. I mean, here's new content. This is new content being filmed.
PG-13 content, though.
But it's going to be so good.
Well, you tell me about it. You can tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know. But what I'm telling you is, while you are the exception, you have that restraint.
And there's not... I'm thinking to myself, right, there's Wreck-It Ralph, there's Deadpool, there's not much else to cover us until Christmas, right? You know what I mean, right? There's until Christmas, there's not much this season, right? I feel like last year we had Star Wars, we had Jurassic
we have no
World.
Star Wars this year.
Yeah, there was a ton of movies that were hit that holiday season, and I think the clever thing that Fox doing is they're cramming this in right before the launch of Aquaman, right? Sort of stealing a little bit of those bucks, and that's really, I think, the only big, major, huge. Really, I mean, you're going to correct me. People are going to correct me. There's yes, your favorite movie is launching in December, and I missed it. But I think Aquaman and Deadpool and Wreck-It Ralph might be the only ones that are really
those are the three. Those are the three. And let's be honest here. We've got Disney, we've got Fox, and we've got Warner Brothers. The three big major studios all releasing their movies.
Yeah, that's right. And they're all fighting each other for the end of season dollars.
Right. And what's going to be hilarious, because I'm a huge DC fan, Justice League poster right here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this Office very soon.
So I love DC. I love it, and I've loved some of the choices they've made, and I've hated some of the choices they've made, but I've learned to live with it. Jason Momoa is by far one of the best things they've ever done.
Have we talked about Aquaman? I want to make sure.
We haven't, but we're going to, because this is a movie that's coming out this holiday, and this is going to go right up against Deadpool. But I have, as much as I love,
sad if it lost to repeat Deadpool.
Probably going to lose to repeat Deadpool.
Oh.
I don't want to believe it. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong here, but DC's got this, like, I don't know what it is, and it's nothing. Like, I'm wearing a Marvel shirt right now. I love Marvel, but Marvel really found a way to polarize the non-comic book fan. Like the everyday Joe, they found a way to make them be like, a Marvel movie, I'm going day one. DC movies, boo. And I'm like really? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, I think DC came out of the gate. They came out late, and they came out too serious.
Right. No, I
know. But I think, and they wanted to be different, which I totally get what DC was trying to do. I just think that everyone wanted to turn off their brains for the summer, Joe, and Zack.
Yeah, I think I mean,
it was just so there was a calibration that had to reoccur, and we've talked. I think Justice League was great. I'm sad that folks didn't like it, and I think you're right. I think folks now just hate it because they're Marvel fanboys now, and
they've become kind of like, they walk in and they want that Marvel movie. Now, here's an example: is you had
Aquaman is confusing as someone who's not a DC fan like you are, right? Like I watched the trailers and I'm like, I have no idea what this movie's going to be about. I have no idea who any of these characters are, and like, it's weird to me. And I texted you. It looks like a fantastic science fiction film, right? Like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, wow, there's like spaceships underwater, and there's that weird manta dude, and there's all sorts of
Black Manta.
Yeah, there's Black Manta. And there's like cool armor and awesome weapons and things like that. I'm like, this would look like a cool science fiction film, and I'd watch that. I'd go to the theaters to catch a big science fiction film because I don't know anything about it, and I'm afraid that folks are seeing these trailers and they don't know. I mean, Jason Momoa might not bring him to the seats as well as you hope for DC, because people don't know Aquaman. He's like a tier 1 DC character that people don't know anything about, right? Like, he's
right. So look, let me give you a little background here, just so you know. The director of Aquaman,
sure,
is the director. He's got look, I'm pulling up just to get myself right. He has directed Fast and the Furious 7.
Okay, fun action film.
The Conjuring 2. Saw, the first one.
Well, he's got a very eclectic mix of films there.
Insidious, 2013.
Okay.
A couple of episodes of MacGyver from the new series.
Okay.
From 20. Which
I assumed it was the new series. He's probably not old enough to have done the original.
Yeah. And The Conjuring Part 2 was the last major motion picture that he did, and then Aquaman. So he was the executive producer for Saw 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then the final chapter 3D. He was the producer on Annabelle, a bunch of horror movies, which is interesting. The Nun. He was the producer of The Nun.
Wow.
He's producing a bunch of other movies as well. He's producing The Curse of the Llorona, which is coming out soon.
Sure.
Next year, which got the trailer. So he's got a big repertoire of horror, which is interesting to me. But then another big movie that he did was Fast and the Furious 7, which was one of the ones that did a lot of good money for them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that this guy was given the reins to Aquaman, a character that, let's be honest here, he is known for camp.
Big orange suit and ridiculous pants.
Right. And everyone thinks I talk to fish. Like, that's what we got. But for the comic book fan that I am, Aquaman is a far deeper character. He's a king under the sea. He's like, I shun humanity. Humanity kind of ruins their own planet.
He sounds a lot like Namor.
He's very, which is interesting because Aquaman's older than Namor, but then again, everyone knows Namor because he's Marvel. That's so interesting too because Namor has never been in a movie. Yeah, exactly. You've got people, immediately. Namor. Like, Namor's, no, man. Aquaman's older. Like, come on. But yes, here's a director that's directed Fast and the Furious 7 that's given the reins in this movie, and it looks fantastic in the special effects.
It looks like a crazy action film with some science fiction elements, which I'm always down for.
Yeah, so he's a Malaysian Chinese descent director who's been given the reins on a character that's very American created.
It's interesting because it's a film that I feel like DC, I don't want to say they're pinning their hopes on, but if this does poorly, what does that say about the rest of the DC universe, right?
Oh man, I don't know, but it's.
You're gonna get another Wonder Woman, another Justice League, and then we're gonna go back to rebooting Batman, right?
Oh God.
That's what's gonna happen. So, prediction number 2.
No, it's the truth. I'm like, how many times do we have to see the Waynes get gunned down in an alley? I mean,
in our lifetimes, at least
12
times, right?
12 times, right? Like, oh God, it's the Waynes again. Get out of that alley. What's gonna happen?
Come on, Zorro isn't even that good of a movie.
Zorro isn't that good of a movie, exactly. So I'm excited as a fanboy of the DC universe. I'm excited.
It looks fun. It looks like
Jason Momoa and me can run off into the sunset. Like, I think my wife has given me that full approval. I'm totally
good. Yeah, no, I should probably just ask for pictures, right? That's
right, absolutely. So I love the man. I think he's a fantastic human. He's pretty friendly. He's like a super crunchy hippie, which I love. Yep. He's married to Lisa Bonet.
Love.
Yes, she's fantastic. But he's got kids with them and live off the land. They go mountain climbing and like camp like 360 days of the year. Like, they're ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I bet Jason isn't sitting there waiting for Fallout 76 to install, right? Like,
right. That dude is out there like climbing a mountain and like, like, yes, I'm like fishing with my bare
I'm more like, I wish Jason would talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me right there. So totally, I any chance I get, if I ever meet the guy, I'm going to be like, there, day one. But I've totally got a Superman crush on the dude. But I want this movie to be successful. I think he brought something that the character has never had, which is exciting. And I think
he brings a sort of an interesting take on it. I mean, I'm glad they didn't who
they didn't whitewash it. Like, they could have, because I mean the vision of Aquaman is like blonde hair, blue eyes, fish man, and then here we've got
who would have been cast? Who would have been a good casting for that choice? One of the Chris's, right? The Chris. If they weren't already superheroes, they would have been cast as Aquaman.
Right. One of the Chris's, like Chris Pine, would have been perfect for that role, or we would have looked at maybe like one of the Notebook guy. What's his name?
I've never seen The Notebook.
Yeah. Him. It would have been like blonde hair, like dreamy guy. Like, but he had to have been young, so maybe Zac Efron.
Yeah, Zac Efron. That would be an interesting choice, actually. Yeah.
I mean,
I like it.
dreamy dude, like very clean cut.
Because you can't get a Chris. Like if you can't get a Chris, then you're gonna go. Like I'm sure there's another Hemsworth brother. They can find it.
Right. The other Hemsworth would have been actually good as it. That's right. He's Australian. I mean, they know they. I mean, they're all about the ocean.
Just the taste of a sexy underwater accent, like
right. Australian accent would have been perfect for an Aquaman, actually, because they're surrounded by an ocean and all that.
They're basically Oceania.
They're basically Oceania. That's right. So yes, Aquaman. I'm excited for, and that's coming up soon. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can buy tickets right now, early, to get a screening on December 14th. I think is what it is. 15th.
So you actually get a screening in the theaters?
Yeah, it's the multiple theaters. You go online, you go to Amazon.com, and they're going to see an Aquaman banner. You click on it, and you'll be able to put in your zip code, see what close theater is around, and then it allows you to buy a ticket through Amazon directly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a week early. So that's pretty neat. I'm excited. I'm going to do it. So I'm excited. Okay. So what's another thing on here that's happening?
I think that's, I mean, you're going to be watching this on Wednesday. We put it out there on Wednesday. So Thanksgiving is this week, right? So right. What are we thankful for? Since we're sort of freeforming this show, what are we thankful for from a nerd perspective, or I don't know if you want to get detailed life perspective, but small one, right? Walking Dead Season 3 was picked up by Skybound Games. I'm excited for that. I'm thankful for someone saw that there was some value out there, and also there are a lot of customers who bought the full season passes.
I'm going to be the old man here and be thankful for other things as well, that these individuals that were developers on a game that they were working so hard on, and all of a sudden Telltale's did bad management moves and made them lose their jobs.
Yep.
They were all picked up. The entire production cast,
the core team
was picked up to continue work by Skybound Games. So
thank you to Skybound Games, because you've given those folks something to be thankful for as well, right? They get to finish their work. The fans get to see the end of the series and the end of Clementine's story arc, which is what we're all hoping for.
Right. That's going to be a good one.
And that's good. Yeah, I'm thankful for that.
And if you haven't picked up any of the Telltale The Walking Dead games, please do so. They're practically free. Like, you see them on sales all the time. They're given out as bonuses if you're a gold member or a plus member. They're on sale for like $5.
I think there's a few that are on sale right now. You need to check, but The Walking Dead will be put on sale again, right? Because they got pulled when Telltale Games went under, because
because they own the publishing rights. So
Skybound picked up the publishing rights, and they said they will come back and they're going to put all 3 seasons and all the Walking Dead franchise stuff up there. So
that's fantastic.
So it's available again. It's not lost to those sort of like property rights where good games just disappear forever because someone owns the rights to them and they don't want to give them up for anything less than a coin.
That's a good one.
So that was that's something I'm thankful for from a gaming community perspective, right? I'm thankful for that.
I mean, there's a few other series in the Telltale Games franchise.
Fables was great. I love the Game of Thrones one.
What's the Fables one? The wolf with, what is it called?
The Wolf Within, or the
Wolf Within? Yeah, something like that.
Great,
fantastic one. It was a good one. And I've got personal friends that are really invested in that one, and they're really sad because we were getting the sequel to that.
It's supposed to get a season 2. I mean, speaking of nerddom, those are fantastic comics. If you ever pick up those graphic novels, I can't wait to read them with my own daughter right there.
Yeah. They're great. So Fables, by all means, that's a good one. There was a couple of them, the Game of Thrones ones. I mean, we've got a lot of content on that. It's just something like Fables was comic only, and so you didn't really have another form of medium. And then we got it at Telltale Games, and it was fantastic. And for it to go away is very sad. So again, I'm thankful for that. That's what I'm thankful. Let me think. What else? What am I thankful for? I mean, it's not hard. I there's so much. Here's a good one, I guess. I'm going to say I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that geeks have picked up tabletop again.
Yeah, good call.
I mean, it's kind of a broad stroke of a thankfulness, but I think it's interesting that I almost grew up. I grew up a few years difference with Pedro, and in my time realm of growing up, tabletop was not as known. You had to really look for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look for it. And if you didn't have an in, like an older brother or some like a parent
Someone in the
that was
community.
into
Yep.
it, there was no way to know that this was even a genre or something to exist in. So it wasn't until I got older and met friends and were like, "Hey, have you ever done tabletop?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Dungeons and Dragons." I'm like, "I've heard of it," And then we
The one where
played.
you summon the devil, right?
Right. It's the game that you summon the devil. I learned to play it. That became kind of a thing to do, and then
Mm-hmm.
now I. There's some things where you get angry that they've become mainstream, like your favorite band and all that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, it's mainstream, bleh. But D&D is something that I believe should be as mainstream as possible.
Yeah.
I was at a Target over the weekend. I had to go and pick up something, and I walked into the game section, and there was a stack on an end cap for $15.99 for the D&D starter
Quick
set.
starter, which is
The
phenomenal.
D&D starter set. I was like, I can't believe it. Like, I never would have thought I'd get to the day that I saw an actual D&D labeled product at a big box store.
Yeah, no, I mean the fact that Target even has an enormous and kind of good board game section.
Yeah. I mean, they've got Ticket to Ride. They've got Catan. They've got. I mean, a lot of the staple like
They got the
foundational
intro games. The
intro
like,
game. Seven Wonder is on there.
mhm.
You see that all the time there, and they've got a lot of the party games as well. Like they are the major retail seller of Cards Against Humanity, which I think is hilarious.
Wow, so I mean that makes sense, right? You go to Target to pick up something and you walk out with some Cards of Humanity packs. That makes
I
sense.
mean, I've picked up their like expansion packs there. I've gone in there and they've got a little like rack of like the '90s set and the tabletop set, which is hilarious. They've actually got a tabletop set, and you buy them. And I think it's funny that instead of ordering online, you go to a Target and pay $5 for a pack.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's that's a good one, right? So like and you were traveling this past weekend, and I'm sure folks saw it if they follow us on Instagram, and
Right.
you were in a small town, relatively small town, and you hit multiple game stores and multiple places
It
where
was
it's
weird gaming pay dirt for sure. I'm in a big city, so I'm in Houston.
mm-hmm.
Pedro's in the Syracuse
A little one.
area, and it's a
Please
smaller
don't
city.
track me down.
Yeah. But Syracuse, New York, is a small town, but it's a college town. So
Mm-hmm.
when I lived up there, I thought this was going to be like a college town. There's going to be good geek centric stuff, and there isn't. I mean, there is, but
There's
it's not
one.
as there's
Yeah.
one. When I moved to Houston, when I moved back to Houston, I'm from Houston originally. I had left in the early 2000s, and I didn't know where any of the gaming stuff was now, so I had to kind of rediscover it all. And I found a lot of good stuff. It's a little spread out because it's a big city.
Houston spread
But I
out.
mean, we've got bars that cater to tabletop. We've got tabletop cafes and all, but they're all over the place.
Which is insane, right? Let's just take a step back and think about a bar where alcohol served catering to tabletop, right? Like it's not a sports bar, guys. Like it's a place where you can go and you can play board games and theoretically have a low volume conversation. Maybe run a Dungeons and Dragons game if you want to be bold. Yeah, like that is. I mean, we've gone all the way from the basement to actually just playing in a place dedicated to allowing us to play in their spaces. And their
Right.
business model revolves around inviting those people in, right? Like
Yeah.
I remember being kicked out of cafes because we sat there too long playing games because we couldn't play at each other's houses, right? Our apartments were too small. So we go and play at a cafe and we'd be there for 2 hours. And unless we bought something every 20 minutes or so, they're going to kick us out, right? Now these places
Right.
are set up for these folks to enjoy, which is, that's definitely something we should all be thankful
Yeah,
for.
definitely be thankful for.
I'd be super thankful if someone got some money together and put one together here in Syracuse.
Right. No, and that's what I was thinking too. One of the individuals that came with us is one of the helpers that helps with our channel, Adam. He went with me while I was in the Denver area, and we drove out to Fort Collins.
Yep.
And here's a town of 140, 140 to 60,000 people, give or take, that had three different gaming centric locations. And I went to two of them. One of them was the Haunted Game Cafe. And they were an amazing little store. I mean, they had a wall of miniatures for D&D, Reaper miniatures, ready to go at $5 a pop. Not overselling. A big old rack of dice, a rack of all the different D&D books, all the newest ones that had come out recently.
That's awesome.
T-shirts, used video games. They had a whole Warhammer section as well. They had a whole wall of Citadel paints. And yeah, I mean, I was just like impressed. I was like, this is a very tiny shop. And then they took enough real estate that they built the shop on one side, and then you walk over to another, and they built a room with big tables with game mats and a cafe. You could order a pizza and coffee and all the drinks that you wanted right then and there. I mean, the business model you would think is meant to fail, but it's not. We've gotten to a point in geekdom that
you just make enough to make it.
Enough to make it, and that's what we want.
You know what's weird? Like New York City, man. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, I know because the rents are so ridiculous for storefronts in New York City. That's hard. I mean, like, I remember when, like, one opened in Queens, the Neutral Ground, right? Great spot, wonderful owner, awesome people down there at Neutral Ground. When they opened, it was a huge deal because everyone was like, oh, my God, like a gamer space that we could all get together. I'm like, oh, 20-sided gaming in Queens. Neutral Ground was way back when in Manhattan, and that one shut down just because they couldn't afford their rent.
They couldn't pay the rent. They couldn't pay the rent because the business model is sound, right? But you know, you get 20 people in there and only 2 of them buy beers because the rest of them are playing D&D. It's hard to pay the rent. Like I get it. You want to be the benevolent owner, but then you have to be strict.
Yeah, it's like the old comic book shops, right? I think everyone's reading the comics instead of buying them, right?
Right. Here in Houston, we've got 2. We've got one called Neil's Bar, which is fantastic. They hold video game tournaments and all sorts of movie nights and trivia, and they're fantastic. They're a go-to place by all means. And then we've got another one called the Coral Sword, which is actually owned by one of the individuals of the Comic Book Men from I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put in the show notes who owns it.
We got to put together those show notes.
No. I've been pretty good about putting stuff in the description for the YouTube channel, so I'll put that there for sure. So that's 2 that I know of in Houston. But here we have, again, I'm back in Fort Collins in Colorado, a town of 150,000 people, and we've got 3, and they've all been open for multiple years. So it's not like all of these were startups that just opened up this year and then they're seeing if they can do it.
I mean, part of it has to be the community around it, right? Like Fort Collins is a pretty well-developed
college town,
right?
Yeah, it's college town, very artisanal tech, independent town. So it's like a kind of like a tiny Portland / Austin / just all of those like independent, like I don't want to call it hippie because that seems like a negative connotation.
They're more like capitalists.
Right. But they're capitalists because they're able to spend the money. While I was there, the second place I went to was, again, I had dinner. I picked up a couple friends, which I'm going to name drop because I want you to visit them on Facebook. They are the Haunted Mountain Group. They are 2 friends of mine, Zero and his wife, Katie, who make dice trays. That right now they've started off with dice trays and tabletop gaming accessories. They're going to work on a couple of dice towers and a couple of initiative trackers and all that.
They custom make these things, which are pretty awesome.
All by hand.
I think you bought it for me.
I bought it for you, and I bought one of them, and they're fantastic. Nice wooden tray, felt. Good place to roll your dice. So
I sound good when they're rolling them.
Look them up. I'll put them again in the show notes to check them out. But I went to dinner with them because I was up in Denver. I was like, I can't not visit them. And when I got there, I had heard of this place, and it's a place called Dungeons and Drafts, D&D. And sure enough, it's in a strip mall. You walk in, and it's a tavern. Like you walk in, and it's a D&D tavern. Giant wooden tables.
I saw like banners up on the
banners, like the Hogwarts banners on the wall. A suit of armor against the corner, and of course, and if you didn't know, Fort Collins has like per capita, like 2 breweries per person that lives there. Like I can't even make up that number. Like
I think only Oregon does work.
Right. There's just like 300,000 breweries just in Fort Collins. So 2 per person, no joke. And so they've got all of these local beers and mead and all sorts of local ciders. And then all these tables are set up. I mean, they're set up for gaming. They're big tables with lots of nice room. And
that's
food,
awesome.
and not bad food, good food, like, chicken dishes and sandwiches and from tenders all the way to like big hunks of meat and cheese. So That is phenomenal to me. It blows my mind that here's a small town that has really become kind of a nerdvana is kind of what I would say. So I'm jealous of
Did you
Zero
feel
and Libby.
homesick getting on the plane, flying back?
I did. Like, all it did is it made me realize that I've got to hit up a lot of those places more often here in Houston, because
Really
Houston
find
is
that
so
community.
big. Houston is so big that it's hard to get that community together at a place like that. And I would totally love one more local to me, because for me to drive to some of those, it's like 40 minutes away. Houston is that big. But again, here's a town that's so small that it's able to hold down the economy of 3 separate gaming locations to me. And the third one I'll put in the gaming notes as well. I didn't visit there, but just goes to show that there was 3 and I only got to visit 2, and I took pictures and I shared them on the Instagram and the Facebook. So again, tell me, if you live in a town, wherever you're at, whether it be in Austin and Texas and New York and Oregon and Kansas, wherever, do you have a gaming store that you visit? Let me know. I'd like to hear about these gaming spaces. They're almost holy spaces, because that's not the only place I went to. If you followed me on Instagram, I hit up a lot of the local gaming stores. I hit up a local retro gaming shop as well in Denver. These guys were phenomenally good people. And these places are meant so that you can walk in and you buy something, but it's nice to just like talk to that guy across the the counter and go, "Hey, did you ever play this old game? Yeah, I love it." And you get to banter. And people my age, when you get to my age, you just want to hear.
They're the ones who own the shops.
They own the shops, right. So please, I want to hear about the local gaming shops in your town, in your community, your local tavern, your local tabletop store.
Share the pictures with us, right?
I want to see those places, and let's share them. I think that is a big thing that I want this podcast to be about. Now that I've realized it more often, is as we get older, the people my age have built these places, these. I want to call them almost temples, holy ground for us, and we should contribute. We should give back. As a religious, I want to say that is we buy stuff on Amazon very often, but to be able to go in there and buy a D&D book in person in this day and age, kind of a blessing.
Yeah, so that's true.
Let's be thankful that geekdom has become so amazing, pervasive, that's a good word, that we could walk into a store around the corner and it's catered to us, for us.
Which is a great, I don't want to wrap the show, but we're having a great time, but I think that's a great way to end it, right? So to say, folks, hey, with all the Black Friday sales and all the Cyber Monday sales and everything that goes on for the next weekend, just think about your local game store, right? Think about your local community. Please. Go out there and spend a little bit of those bucks that you would have bought buying a 69-inch 420-inch 4K TV, right?
Right.
To put in your living room, and maybe downgrade a little bit and spend some money at your local game store to really support that community. So I'm thankful for those folks out there who work hard, because I know, I've had friends who have run game stores who've had to close them, and that's a heartbreaking moment, right? Because it's hard to run a game store in the economy as it is today without like real dedication and a community that's willing to support you.
You have to really put it in the other side, that while these guys might be more expensive than your local Best Buy and whatnot, they opened these stores with the love of that community. They weren't, I can almost guarantee you that 95% of these stores that have opened up, local gaming shops, they're not out there they're not getting rich, and they weren't out there to say, hey, let's find a way to make money off these chumps. I think they were like, hey, let's find a way to have this market local to these guys. Like, let me be the merchant of these gaming wares to these people. And so
we sound like total hippies, right? We sound like total nerd loving hippies, but again, you buy at your local store, you put that money right back into the community, and you give to the folks that are actually living in your neighborhood.
And they'll continue to do all the awesome tournaments and gaming events. And again, if you've got kids, it's the place that you're going to be able to walk your kids in and go, they go, Dad, what is this? And I'm like, this is tabletop. This is tabletop gaming. And they'll have events. Like, most of these places have events on Saturdays, tournaments, Magic the Gathering tournaments, video game tournaments. It's that's what you want to go to. And
I remember, I have a lot of fond memories of going to the Dragon's Den of Yonkers, going to the Complete Strategist in New York City when they used to have 3 different locations. It was heartbroken when they closed them all down to 1, right? So
Right.
I remember these places, and the folks at the Complete Strategists are awesome. They're always there at PAX East. So like I know these folks. We would definitely need to visit them and spend our money there. So
again,
awesome. Take a tour.
To that.
Send links.
We got Black Friday going on.
I mean, I know Play the Game, Read the Stories up here. I know there used to be Cloud City Games, but I don't know that they're still around anymore. If you know places up here in Syracuse, let me know, and I'll make a trip.
And again, I'm in Houston, and I've there's a couple of the places, Nan's Books and Games, Bedrock. We've got the Gaming Goat out in
Katie. Good name, Gaming Goat.
They're a small franchise. There's one in Denver that a friend of mine told me to come and visit, and but there is one in Katy here. So they license out the name, but it's fantastic, good prices. They match Amazon prices.
Must be hard for them.
It's hard for them, but they will match. So if whatever a book on a D&D book is being sold on Amazon, they'll match it and you'll buy it local there. So they've found a way to make that a business model. They have tournaments in Magic on Saturdays. So again, there's a bunch of them here. If I forgot some, I'll post them as best as I can. But that's Houston or the Katy area or my area of town. He's posted some from Syracuse. Please tell me your local store where you're at.
Celebrate it.
Be thankful.
All
right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap this show up. And again, be thankful about your gaming. And
have a wonderful holiday, right? Yes, enjoy yourself. And, if you have the time, subscribe, share.
Let's share this out. I want to hear what other people have to say. Let's get this, let's cast that net bigger so we get a bigger gaming community going on.
Very exciting.
All right, guys. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. Good hunting on Black Friday. And take care. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.